The black Audi rolled into my driveway at exactly 6:31 p.m. It didn't stop at the curb. It didn't park on the street. It pulled halfway onto my lawn and waited. The driver never turned off the engine. He wasn't hiding. He was waiting for my wife to come out of my house, as if I didn't exist. 30 seconds later, my front door opened. My wife walked straight past me without saying hello, smiled at the man in the Audi, slipped her hand into his, then turned back toward me with the coldest expression I'd ever seen. "Go back inside, Conrad." I didn't, and those 3 words destroyed 16 years of marriage. My name is Conrad Ellison. I'm 47 years old, a county fire marshal, and I make a living investigating disasters after everyone else panics. The problem was, I never imagined the biggest fire of my life had been burning inside my own home for almost 2 years. That Friday had started like every other shift. 12 hours of inspections, paperwork, smoke alarms, and emergency calls. I was exhausted when I pulled into my driveway. Then I saw the black Audi. The man behind the wheel looked completely relaxed, like he'd parked there 100 times before. My wife Colette stepped outside, wearing a burgundy dress I'd never seen. Her makeup was flawless. Her hair looked professionally done. She looked happier than she'd looked with me in years. When she noticed me standing beside my truck, the smile faded for barely a second. "You're home early," she said. "It's 6:30, I answered. "I'm home exactly when I've always been." Before she could respond, the Audi door opened. A tall man in an expensive jacket climbed out. He looked at me once, then looked back at my wife. That told me everything. "Who is he?" I asked. "His name is Spencer." Nothing else? No explanation? No apology? Just his name. I walked toward him. "You need to leave." Instead of answering me, Spencer looked at Colette, waiting for her to deal with me. Then something happened I'll never forget. My wife walked past me, took his hand, laced her fingers through his, and calmly said, "Conrad, go back inside." There wasn't anger in her voice. There wasn't guilt. Only confidence. She honestly believed I would obey. Something inside me became frighteningly calm. I pulled my phone from my pocket, called my attorney, and while they stood there, holding hands in my driveway, I said, "Dale, it's time. File for divorce Monday morning." For the first time that evening, Colette's confidence disappeared. I walked into my house, locked the door behind me, and never argued, because arguments don't expose the truth. Evidence does. That night, I didn't sleep. I opened every joint bank account we shared. Within 3 hours, I'd found nearly $20,000 quietly transferred from our savings over 14 months. Small amounts, 600 here, 1,200 there, never enough to attract attention, until I added them together. $19,000. Gone. Monday morning, I met my attorney. By noon, I was driving to Ridgemont Academy, the boarding school where our 14-year-old son, Caden, had been living. I thought Colette visited him every weekend. I was wrong. The school administrator quietly admitted she'd left him there 11 weekends during the school year, claiming family circumstances prevented her from picking him up. Family circumstances. Those circumstances had a black Audi. When Caden walked into the meeting room, he'd grown taller than I remembered. He smiled when he saw me. Then he asked a question that crushed me. Did Mom finally have time to visit? She hadn't visited once. I brought him home that afternoon. Halfway through the drive, he finally spoke. "Dad." "Yeah?" "Last spring, Mom kept bringing a man to the house while you were working out of town." I gripped the steering wheel tighter. "Why didn't you tell me?" His eyes filled with tears. "I thought if I said something, our family would break apart." I pulled onto the shoulder immediately. I looked straight at my son. "You didn't break this family. The adults did." He cried quietly. So did I. Just not where he could see me. When we got home, I checked the old family iPad, still connected to our shared account. I found hundreds of messages. One stopped me cold. It had been sent the same week Colette convinced me Caden should attend boarding school. She'd written, "Once he's gone, we'll finally have weekends together." Spencer replied, "I can't wait." That was it. My son hadn't been sent away for a better education. He'd been removed from the house to make room for another man. From that moment forward, every decision became simple. I documented everything: school records, bank transfers, phone messages, witness statements. I never screamed, never threatened, never begged. When Colette came home 2 days later, pretending everything was normal, I simply handed her my attorney's business card. "The guest room is yours," I said. "We'll communicate through lawyers." She stared at me. "You've already planned all this?" "No." "You did." The custody hearing arrived 6 weeks later. Her lawyer painted her as a loving mother. Then the school administrator testified. 11 missed weekends, phone records, attendance logs, every canceled visit. Facts don't care about emotions. Neither do judges. Then Caden's counselor testified that my son wanted to live with me permanently. The courtroom became silent. Months later, the settlement was finalized. I kept the house. Primary custody of Caden. Most of the stolen money was returned. Colette moved out carrying boxes instead of excuses. The man she'd sacrificed everything for? He left her before the divorce was even finished. He found someone else. When she eventually learned he'd replaced her almost overnight, she stood quietly in my garage and whispered, "He wasn't worth it." I looked at her for a long moment before answering. "No, but my son always was." Today, Caden is thriving. He's back in a local school. He talks about engineering, laughs again, and finally believes something I told him the day I rescued him from that boarding school. "None of this was ever your fault." Sometimes I still think about that black Audi sitting in my driveway. At the time, it felt like the worst moment of my life. Now I realize it was the moment that saved it, because if that man hadn't parked where I could see him, I might have spent years believing lies. Instead, I walked out of the wreckage with the only thing that truly mattered: my son. And unlike my marriage, I never lost him.